Okay. So welcome everyone. Second session today. I hope we have gone through, if we have not attended, at least we have gone through the recording of the first session, the introductory one. And the introduction will still go on a bit because since it is for beginners that these sessions are. So let us understand, the root issues, the deeper issues, why we are talking about this at all. Otherwise, it would make no sense to just learn something. Why are we learning this? Why are we trying to understand this deeply? So I'll just continue with the introduction today, and then we can take up any questions, any doubts in between. Before that, I would like to ask if there is anything from the last session that you have to ask. That can also be where we start from. Yeah? So again, I'll take no news as good news. if if nothing happens for a few seconds, then it means I'm good to go. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we were talking about the root of man being there in existence and the aim of human life, the purpose of human life. Because education has to be very deeply connected with the purpose of human life, obviously. Otherwise, why are we doing this? One can think about it. That why did I at all get educated if it is not connected with my purpose of being here in existence? Yeah. So far the education that we have been having, it has a few drawbacks, it has a few loopholes which need to be addressed, and that is what has been addressed in the philosophy of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So first we have to recognize what is missing, and then we have to see whether we can develop a new structure to address that which is missing in the present system of education. Yeah. So let me just continue with the previous reflections, and I'll again, the reference books will remain the same for our sessions for now. I'll let you know if anything changes. So the purpose of education, the aim of education is twofold. Yeah. So one is the collective aspect of education, that I am a person and I'm living in a society, and I have to address the needs of society also. I have to be in harmony with the society. And then I also have to recognize that I'm just not a brick of the society. I am an individual being in it, in my own accord, in my own self. So I am a whole universe in my own self. So that individual aspect also has to be taken into consideration. So education would be then having two aims: the collective aim of education and then the individual aim of education. So whether the education is helping me progress and shine out the light, divine light from within, and also being in harmony and being able to contribute to the collective aspect of education. Yeah, so these are the two aspects. From the collectivity point of view, we have to be a good citizen so that we don't, we are harmonious in terms of relationships that go on in the society, and I fulfill my agendas as a citizen. I stop at the red light, and these little things. I take care of the rules when I am on the road, and wherever otherwise in an institution and all that. So that is the collectivity, and it is expected that the education that we are having will give us a strong and healthy body, good character, solid character, helps me achieve a little bit of self mastery, if not complete, at least beginning of self mastery, and also gives me the ability to develop my abilities. There are powers lying within me, and those are the ones which I have to develop, which I have to kind of bring out from latency. So these are aims of education. Now, Sri Aurobindo has shared in his philosophy of education, which Mother has put into practice in schools. Sri Aurobindo says that it is possible that a human being also grows and is not masked, and the collectivity also grows in the sense that I don't have to suppress my own individuality so that the system can be better. This will never be harmonious. When the individual grows in its full accord, then is the beautiful harmony possible in the social or collective level as well. That is what we are going to, deeply, slowly, gradually explore. So he says that although this has not been ever achieved, that the individual being also is not suppressed and the collectivity also benefits. This has not been achieved so far, but he says that it is possible. And although it may be long before the human race achieves this harmony in within myself and also in the family, in the society, or wherever in the collective I live and work, workplaces also. So Sri Aurobindo says that it's the half vision that we have owing to the minds that we have limited point of views, and we act according to those limited point of views. That is where we falter and we are not able to achieve greater harmony. So he says that for three things have to be taken into consideration for a true and a living education. Those three things are the man, the individual in his commonness. When we talk about the universe, we say that we are just a speck of dust, so we are very common, there is nothing very special about it. So that individual aspect in his commonness and also in his uniqueness. But when you probe deeply, when you go with a telescope, go closer and closer and closer, you see that each individual being matters. So although the whole earth is nothing but a speck of dust, stardust in this whole universe, but each individual being matters. He is unique. So both the aspects have to go parallelly. The uniqueness of the individual and also the ordinariness, the commonness, that I am no special, yet I am absolutely special. So this is what has to be taken into account. These are two things. The second thing is the nation or the people, that has to be taken into account, and the universal humanity. Because whatever is the need of man in India, the need of man also is there globally. Everybody needs harmony in the being. Everybody needs conflict resolution. Everybody, no matter whether which culture you belong to, we need to sustain ourselves inward and outward peace and harmony and progress. That is all we need. So a collective universal aspect also has to be considered. Yeah, so the man in his uniqueness and commonness, the first aspect. Second is the nation or the people, because each nation is very unique. Each nation has its soul, according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. India has its own soul. All the other nations have their own souls, and there also the souls have their needs to progress and grow. So that has to be taken into consideration. For example, I cannot begin to teach a person who is born and brought up in America. I cannot begin to teach him things in Sanskrit from the beginning itself. Later on he can decide to learn it, or Sanskrit or Hindi. Why? Because he's coming from a different soul. He's coming from a different collectivity. And on education, Mother also shares that I think some of us are teachers here, you would resonate, that mother tongue is the tongue that should be used for a child, although we are talking here about adults and children both, for a child, so that he grows an interest and develops further in education. So first you start with the mother tongue, then you slowly introduce the newer languages. If you uproot the person from the mother tongue, then there is something missing. Something will forever be missing in his life, because that is his touch with the nation's soul. Yeah. So the nation and the people and the universal humanity has to be considered. And then he says that alone will be a true and living education, which helps to bring out to full advantage, makes ready for the full purpose and scope of human life, all that is there in the individual man, and which at the same time also helps to enter into right relationship with the life, mind, and soul of people to which he belongs, and with the greater total life, the mind, soul of humanity, of which he himself is a unit. And some I almost fall in love with these words again and again, whenever I go over it, because you feel in yourself that there is some truth about it. It's not like he has given a utopian view of education or human life which would never be fulfilled. You feel that there is something right about it. I have no idea why I feel that way, but I feel that what now is impossible for me is possible, because that is my journey. From darkness to light is my journey. So I don't have to crib over my darknesses, because all that I have as a magician, as a human being, is the darkness. So can I work with this darkness, the challenges, the ugliness of life, not to shoo away them, but to work with them so that they can be molded into something beautiful. So something feels right here, and that is what gives us propulsion to go further into these words. Yeah. So far, we have seen that collective aim in education has overshadowed the individual. For example, look at how we used to take care of, when I was little, all that we knew about was either you can become an engineer, or you can become a doctor, or maybe a few other streams, dentist and these streams, as if there is nothing more to life than that. Yeah. So as if the demand in society, because that is where you find fame and name. If you are a doctor, you are full of fame and name. If you are a good doctor, engineers are needed in big companies. So okay, what you do, you become an engineer or a doctor. So in this collective propulsion, what has happened is that we have lost our individuality. We have almost become, like Pink Floyd says, we don't need no education, we are just another brick in the wall. So as if we have lost our uniqueness in this process. That is what we have to regain, because without getting in touch with my uniqueness, which we were also discussing yesterday in the one of the sessions that happened, finding our true individuality, if I do not connect with my deeper truth, if I do not bring that shine light out, it is impossible for me to be satisfied and to be in harmony with people around me. Impossible. Impossible. Now, why I am so full of certitude about it, I don't know. As I was sharing, that there is something that feels right, maybe through our own experiences, and maybe something else, who knows. Yeah. So this collective aim has overshadowed the individual progress and growth, and that is where at 40s and 50s we are struggling, and we are trying to see, what did I do really, in all my education and PhDs and all the research. Where am I, who am I truly? I have no clue of who am I, what is my true individuality. This is what has been missing in education. Yeah. Scanty attention is paid to the individual, with the result that there is over specialization. There are doctors and doctors and unemployment, because we don't need so many of us, especially when we are not really wanting to be a doctor and just pushed into it. Yeah. While a balanced all round development would be more beneficial for an individual. So as we discussed already, that we have been pushed into certain streams, forgetting our uniqueness, and that has costed us something. That has costed us our peace, that has costed us our contentment. Yeah. So society still is very competitive, we know, and students as if are thrown into a life after the completion of studies, and whatever, little bit of help and kind of help from colleagues they can get a job. Because why do you need a job? Because you need money. Why do you need money? Because you need to have a house, and you need to, maybe you want to travel and have a few gadgets. So everything is just oriented as if towards a means to an end. कि पैसा कमाना है. I just need to have money in my life. Why? Because I need to have a good life. Now, not to say that no one wants a good life, everyone wants a good life, but in having a good life, I'm paying a very heavy price. So called good life, which society thinks as a good life. So I have a good bangla, I have a good property, and everything else is fine, but there is still something amiss, as if there is a void in the being. What to do about that? So in this race of using everything as means to an end, we have lost the touch with our true self, the true being that we are. And without this being addressed, no education is going to be a fulfilling education. I personally, I'm sure you would have experiences, and please share whenever we pause in between. I personally felt after my PhD, oh my God, what am I doing? As if that all my education, I was just running after goals and goals and goals, and I did not know truly what I would like to do. It was only after PhD that this disillusionment came from science also, and from education in general, uh, where I felt that something is truly missing. It cannot be just like my life is just doing this research, and because I cannot find contentment, there was something deeply lacking in my being, which I then explored for myself after completion of my PhD. So I'm sure I'm not alone in this journey. All of us can resonate with a different degree on this aspect, that there was something missing in our education, and can we address it, at least for the coming generations, and even now as a human being, no matter if I am an adult, I'm still alive, I still have a life left. Can I address that deep void that I felt when I was going through, or even now if I feel? And if there is a void, as we were discussing yesterday, if there is thirst, there must be water. So if there is a void, there must be something that fulfills the void. What is that? So that is what we have to discover individually. No one, we can have these discussions, and that's why these are open discussions, that because I don't take any responsibility, that my job is to share what I feel loved towards. But the thing is that it's our call whether we want to go for it or whether we do not want to go for it. If I think that still running after material gains all the time will bring me something someday, run. Run as long as you can, and one day when you feel that it's not gotten you where you wanted to be, then do something else maybe. Yeah. So anything till here, any sharing, any reflection? I was talking to a friend who had a cousin, and the way he was talking about, I have an admission in Cornell, Harvard, and this big universities. Obviously I don't know where he was coming from, but if I extrapolate that little incident, it's just as if I am, we say in English, grass is always greener on the other side. So I'm lacking this fulfillment within the being. And I feel that if I reach Cornell and Harvard, I will be fulfilled in my life, because that's what everyone does. Everyone, applies to Cornell, Harvard, and see, how much happy they are, at least they look on their profiles. So I think here, this is something like a mirage. We feel that fulfillment is something in the future. Fulfillment is something, contentment is something which will come in future. But really, you know, has it come so far if it was in future? So what needs to be addressed for fulfillment or contentment? If not running towards an imaginary or socially driven future. Yeah. And these issues are something I wish that we could have access to these discussions when I was growing up, when we were growing up as children or even young adults. We did not know what which way to go, apart from this following the crowd. And if some everybody is applying, giving GRE GMAT, you also give GRE GMAT. Why? So I missed that questioning in my younger days, and I feel that we should be questioning, no matter if not in younger days, even now, not that old truly. So yeah, so we were discussing that society is still very competitive, and we want our children to be placed well, at least to have decent living and all that, and hence we allow them to go for all kind of fame, name, and whatever they want to do. Many of us find ourselves in great difficulty, like a person hardly knowing how to swim is abruptly thrown into a river. So all the education that I have so far has not truly made me resilient. It is just a subject driven education. Get more marks, have good college admission and all that. The individual aspect has been completely ignored. Resilience is not there. Failures, one failure comes and I'm just thrown, like, my face down on the floor, and I don't want to face myself. I cannot face failures. Now we all know that facing failures is one thing which has been propelling fire, especially when we talk about Einstein, geniuses who have done something. They have faced their failures. They have been resilient. So uh, like we develop ourselves or we develop our children, we are we making them resilient, or are we making ourselves resilient, that we can laugh over ourselves and our mistakes and failure and dust our pants and go on? Is that happening? And if that is not happening, then I'm just having a sapling all the time, nurtured with a fence. The moment the fence is gone, somebody would come and crush me down, because the resilience is not there. Yeah. So this is how we feel when once we are thrown in the job market, that as if I'm thrown, I don't even know swimming, and I'm thrown into the river. There is no resilience, there is no inward oriented anchored rootedness at all. Yeah. And this Pavitra says, at the notes that I have, he says that it is partly an outcome of the hereditary business, that earlier we used to have business ki kumhar ka beta kumhar banega, lohar ka beta lohar banega. Although that has its own disadvantages, but now although we have a lot of freedom कि तू है तो कुम्हार का बेटा, but तू डीजे भी बन सकता है, that freedom is there. But then there is also a lot of insecurity, that is there, that I don't know where I want to go. So earlier, this, owing to the hereditary kind of professions being followed, it was not much rampant, this insecurity about jobs and finding a living, and not suppressing your individuality in order to gain something in your life. But that is happening for centuries now. you know Even our own times, and even now less and less, I think more and more people are getting more awake about it. So definitely we can see the revolution kind of coming up very slowly, very mildly, but it needs in time more vigor. Yes, Shweta. Yeah.
Yes, so Monica, what is your suggestion about, like you said that now children have more choices and, they take up what they feel is, right, and they resonate. And then in the middle of it, like you said, these big universities and all, they make you feel ki, oh my God, after all this is pretense, like everything is about white people culture and, like what they derived as thesis, and you're just doing that. And there is no scope when you as an individual have grown up in an environment where you understand that, it's the will of the Tao, or, like you understand better, the so, whatever the answers or whatever is so much more or based in spirituality. But these fields, these subjects, like they don't even have any scope to go there. And then you're made to feel less because the you understand it in a larger way. So but then like you're midway already, and it's a prestigious university. Then what? I mean, what would be resilient, for following your heart and like giving up or dropping out, or still persisting and finishing it because it was so, like, that is also a dilemma. Like, how would you understand?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a dilemma, and there is no one right answer, I would say, to it, Shweta. And one thing, I have seen personally that, we were discussing earlier also that the path is only one, the destination is only one, and that is growth of consciousness. Now, it
Hmm.
may happen that owing to my ignorance, I make wrong choices, in the sense that I could have made better choices, but owing to the fact that I was ignorant, I made wrong choices.
If what if I say that like it was not out of ignorance, it was what you matlab, at that point, what was your choice, what you looked up to, and then you went into it, and then you felt ki, oh my God, this is pretense, like this is
Absolutely,
not what. So
absolutely.
then to
You know,
drop it or to continue, I mean, you look, yeah,
yeah, there is a little anecdote I will share here, a story that I heard in one of the talks. And imagine that you have gotten on a train
huh.
and you want to go somewhere. Now, after you have completed, I would say, 7/8 of your journey, you realize that it's the wrong train.
हाँ जी
Okay.
तो पढ़ाई कर रहे
Now,
हैं
what to do? Okay, there are two choices that we have. We don't have many choices, or maybe there are more. I don't know. You know, the one choice that I have is that, because what will people say and what will others think about me, that oh my god, I have gotten on a wrong train and 7/8 of the journey is completed, right? So what will people think about me? Let me just finish the journey. Okay, that is one way. On the wrong train, you don't want to go there, but you are so overwhelmed by people that you allow yourself to continue the wrong journey. That is one option. That's what we do usually, huh? The other option is that, yes, I know that it was the wrong train, but at least now I know that it's the wrong train. I, without bothering about others, can I save this much? Can I get off the train and do the journey in the other direction where I wanted to?
you
Now,
think 18, 19 year 19, 20-year-old would have that kind of conviction where there is developing their ego and all that तो वो तो
बिल्कुल,
समझ नहीं आएगा ना
बिल्कुल, तो मैं वही तो कह रही हूँ कि आप, यू कैन नॉट गो रॉन्ग एक्चुअली, है ना? देखो रावण का क्या हुआ, आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. रावण, he did what he all evil he could do all his life, and at the end he gets moksha in the hands of Ram. Huh? So what I was trying to say is that no matter how many wrong choices I may make, wrong or in the sense, to my limited view, it appears right. Huh? I make the choice. I'm saying that if even there is a little bit of connection with the deeper truth, with which I'm sure, especially when I know you personally a little, I've seen your elder daughter also, I know that these children have the connection with their inner truth. It may be not a full connection, but they have a connection. They have a feeling what I am doing and why I am doing. Yeah. So let them do their mistakes, let them do their failures, if they are to be failures and mistakes. And after then, when they get convinced that this was the right way, then they will choose.
okay
Because conviction is very important, na? Now, if you try to, push your daughter or anyone in a particular direction, you are totally right. They would not understand. So, as I needed to complete a PhD to know that I did not need a
right
PhD,
that
we
is
all
right
need to, go through our life journeys so that we recognize that no, this is not resonating. No, this is not resonating. No, this is not resonating. Okay, let me find out what is resonating. So, neti karke, you come back to our truth.
I think conviction
Conviction. Yeah.
because support of parents is also not an issue but personal conviction for a child ki ले लो भाई वो कदम जो लगता है ठीक क्या
And also, I feel, Shweta, children don't really say much, but they are imbibing a lot from how parents live their life.
hmm.
A
That's
lot. I see it with my little two kids. You know, there must be something that I'm speaking, but they would not really understand what I'm speaking. They would actually follow what I am being in the day to day life.
absolutely
तो अगर आप अपनी जिंदगी को सुंदर बनाओगे, फर्दर एंड फर्दर एंड फर्दर, क्योंकि इसकी तो कोई लिमिट ही नहीं है ना.
true
It cannot be that the fragrance of it does not reach your child.
I believe that
So,
thank
yeah, I feel we have to keep on doing work on ourselves and slowly give it all over to the higher intelligence, that if the child has to face consequences, okay, let him give strength. Please give him strength so that he can face the failures and go through all the mistakes.
right because I'll tell you like my confusion was from like last time's discussion about kicking the vital sometimes so you don't know whether it's coming from the vital ki bhai what you're feeling is it the vital or is it really your inner being which is feeling no this is wrong so maybe it's a journey yeah
It's a
okay
journey, and slowly, in the further sessions, we will actually get to know hints and clues of how to know if it's the vital, or how to know if it's the true voice of the inner being.
okay thanks yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so there are a few comments. Avijit says, how can one have the confidence to go against the norm or system from early age. uh, Abhijit, children, I feel that children are not really, uh, they do what they are. They are fully absorbed in themselves, unless they get an environment from adults where adults are also wanting them to kind of follow a particular pattern and not their truth. Yeah, so I feel that we don't need confidence here. If I have a nature's call, if my stomach is full of pressure, do I need confidence to go to potty? No, I don't. So I feel that children, when they know that they have to follow something, they are very natural at it, especially little children. I don't know which age you are referring to. Yeah, please share. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, ma'am. I'm talking about people of different ages. So if you call of younger people, so creating that arch, so that is very important. Because see, I have one daughter. When she was young, so I had to convince her to take up commerce instead of science. So I had a very practical idea that in the science stream, you have to be outstanding, otherwise the mediocre performance. So whatever you want to do, so what I judged from her performance, that she can do very well in other streams. But now she thanks me um, for making her to take up commerce. And so like that, so that is the thing. And other things are the values of life. Sometimes the different values, simply say speaking the truth, we have to pay a heavy price for just simply speaking truth. So we even in our I mean at this age of I'm above 50, so we conveniently avoid speaking truth. But so these are this is the so so that there must be something conviction or confidence, whatever may be. So how can we develop that strength of courage in mind? So that is
Yeah. I think, Avijit, I'll be shortly towards the end of the session, touching upon the whole movement of life in a very beautiful metaphorical way, which I have again taken up from one of the reference books only. So let us see if that addresses what you are sharing. So how to have the confidence to uh, shine out your light, or to be true to yourself. So we'll slowly see if
yes.
if
Thank you.
I'll address the issue again. If it's not clear, we can take it up again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So iPhone to everyone. iPhone is Akansha, I think. Yeah. Akansha, is it you? iPhone. What is the difference between wrong choice, destiny, and karma? Can it be sometime you want to make some choice, but you are destined for something else and your karma decides something else? Sometimes I get confused with the situation as my bad decision. I would say, at this, I would say, I feel that, as I was sharing with Shweta also, that we cannot go much wrong. Although in that little moment it may appear as a bad choice because I'm not liking it really. Yeah, that's all. I have a little window, I have to understand, okay, this is a bad choice. Why? Because I think that I'm not liking it, that's why it's a bad choice. But you don't know the larger picture. We never know the larger picture. So maybe in the larger picture it has implications. For example, just let me give you my example. So I was completing the PhD and I was absolutely disillusioned by the PhD. I did not want the title at all. I said, okay, I don't want this title. I was towards the end of the thesis. Yeah. I had written down the thesis. I did not want to present the thesis. Now, something struck me. Something said that, okay, if I say that I'm truly free, then why to run away from PhD? Let me just complete it. I'm already. So that's what we were sharing, at Shweta, that is there anything called as wrong decision? So although I may have considered PhD as a wrong decision, but now if I look back, completing the PhD, getting the title of PhD has only helped me. And those experiences, so-called wrong experiences coming from my bad choices, have made me more and more convinced that that was not the path to go, at least right now. Maybe I change in future. And this is where I find my true calling. Yeah, so I feel that, again, take one more example, because I want to make it very, very clear, that imagine that you are looking for a temple. In one street you go, you are asking for if temple is there, and the person says, no, 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 yahan nahi hai, nahi milega. You other street you go, na, yahan nahi hai, nahi hai, wahan nahi hai, wahan nahi hai. So like these, I am kind of canceling the streets. Okay, yahan nahi hai, yahan nahi hai, yahan nahi hai, yahan nahi hai. And a few people, when I ask them too much, also they insult me. कितनी बार पूछेगी, यहाँ नहीं है, बताया तो है, so they insult me, but I take the insult because I want to find the temple. So what happens that doing this neti, yahan nahi hai, yahan nahi hai, yahan nahi hai, finally I reach the right street, which is the street where I find the temple. So that's where I say that although I could have taken a straight path, but even if I take a detour, it's good, because I will know, I will get a feeling from within that this is not the right path. This is not the right path. And slowly, by this neti, I can come to the right path in my life. And then slowly we will also discover that there is actually no path can be called as a right path. Whatever I can make out of that present situation, that's it. Maybe I am capable of much heights, but right now I have to do jhadu in an institution. Can I make the best out of that? So even a bad choice can become a beautiful choice. That's where, although we can say on the shallow that there are wrong choices, but are there any wrong choices? Really? So one can actually explore this beautifully. That even if you land up in a difficult marriage, tough marriage, for example, consider it a sad marriage. But once you decide that, okay, I have enough learnings from this phase, I'm ready to move on. So that moving on became possible only because you had this experience which made you convinced and more sure that that is not the way to go. That is not the way to go. So what is truly then a wrong and a right choice? Yeah. So again, not to get stuck in this right and wrong choice. Now we can so slowly see that if we are truly learners in life, any choice that we make can be turned into a right choice depending on the attitude. And slowly, we also gather the courage to make the right choices from the very first start, and not to do 10 wrong choices after, and after that making the so-called right choice, which is alignment with my inner truth. Yeah. So again, failures have their purpose, and our all the blunders and mistakes also have their purpose, so long as they are necessary. But if they are not necessary anymore, now I know what I truly want. Over. At least in that aspect. Yeah. Yeah.
Monica, hi. This
Yes,
is
Saurabh.
Saurabh.
Yeah.
One question I had. So, in spite of knowing the fact, like in today's world, the current education system is not the right one for my kids, I don't think I have any other option to change that thought process. I mean, I know the kind of schools they have the similar curriculum, the same kind of academics, the kind of assessment they have is always on the academic side, not on the emotional quotient side or any other thing. But I don't know how to change that. I mean, I can try my best to teach my kids about the philosophy of life, the purpose of life. But because the most of the time they are in the hands of the education system, which is not up to the mark, I don't know how to challenge that. Can I come with my own education academic, something like that in future? I don't know. But for the timing, I feel helpless, how to change that, how to challenge that thought process. I cannot go to NCERT or CBSE to say something is deeply wrong there. But any thoughts on that, how to change that? Do you know any school or organizations who are towards the real education system in India?
Saurabh, there are many education systems which are prospering now slowly, which are not based on the traditional so-called education system जो हमारे regular schools में होता है. So few schools are associated with Mother and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. some are unschooling, a few people are unschooling their kids, whatever, they are teaching them the day-to-day aspects of life and also studying, but the studying is more in a free sense, in the sense books are there, science is there, literature is there, child feels like picking up, he reads and he understands by himself. So that is also going on, a lot of movement is going on. Now the problem with us is that we ourselves are not truly convinced. If I am convinced, then it would not take me much kind of confirming myself from other people what path to take for my children. For example, like the lockdown period has been happening. Now, I'm not saying that this is the right most thing to do, but what I felt and what, again, my husband also felt, that online education was giving more stress to children, especially little children, while while we came to this school also, which is in orientation with Mothers and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. But why we came to this school? Because there is a lot of physical connect and physical movement and emotional and mental aspects that they take care of. Now, when we do it into online, many things change, although the school has no other option. So we decided that, okay, let us see, what matters to us is that children are growing happily, children are progressing in their life, and children are learning, unlearning, whatever has to go. This is what matters at the end of the day. What matters is, are you joyous? Are you contented? Are you progressing? These three things matter. Okay, especially at this young age. So we decided, okay, let us unschool them. So now, since 1.5, I would say more than 1.5 years, they have been unschooled, and I cannot see that there is anything wrong with their development. Yes, they may lag behind a few years in the educational system, but how does it matter? How does it matter? Losing a 2 3 gap years in the formal education system, if the child is contented, if the child is happy, if the child is progressing well, learning also new things, then why the obsession about completing the grades and things about that? Because at the end of the life, what all we seek is contentment, happiness and joy. But then we give up so many things, that बच्चे को पढ़ाना है वो करके, कि आगे जाके क्या होगा, आगे जाके, भाई आगे जाके क्या होगा? अगर अभी बच्चे का जीवन खराब है तो आगे जाके क्या होगा? खराब। और अगर आपने अभी बच्चे को सेट कर दिया, अभी बच्चे का आपने ध्यान रख लिया that he is growing, progressing, learning, has the capacity to learn, wants to learn new things, and joyous, आगे जाके भी यही होगा. So we have to check with ourselves, what are we really prioritizing? And once I am convinced that, okay, all that I want for myself and the child is progression, contentment, joy, and a fervor for learning, I think nothing can stop you from living a beautiful life. Yes, you may not have a BMW, but BMWs don't bring happiness. Even living in a small cottage, small hut, and contributing a little in your own terms can bring you joy and happiness and contentment. And that is what we are seeking, all of us adults. If we look at our lives, yes, I have a very beautiful job, gives me a lot of money. At the end of the day, what do you want? Peace, contentment, joy. So why to bargain them first in order to achieve something else, and then again to hanker after peace, contentment and joy? Why are you giving it away? So that is where I would say, that once you will be convinced that, okay, I have found that for myself, contentment, a joy to learning and progress is the only thing that matters in life. And it brings also resilience, ability to laugh at your own mistakes, to correct your own mistakes. That is all we need in human life to be a good person. And if that is enough, then in whatever field the child goes, you would not be able to stop the child from progressing also in material aspects. And also he would be able to listen to his inner voice, which we will be discussing later, that Papa, I'm not feeling fine here, I feel that there is something miss, I don't want to follow this. And then you would say, okay, if you feel that try something else, take a sabbatical, give yourself some time, what is the rush? So, this is how individually in every home it would be flowering into a different form. There is no one formula. Again, truth has no one formula. So that which I am applying at my place completely will not be followed by at your place. Truth is not formula ki ek formula maine bana ke tumko de diya. And that's why, although there is a philosophy of integral education, but the way it flowers is absolutely unknown. And that is the beauty. There would be several ways to reach the same place, destination. तो ये हमको अपने लिए डिस्कवर करना है. And if as an adult I am growing and progressing through my mistakes and understanding my own connection with deeper truth, it is impossible that, as I was sharing with Shweta, it is impossible that the fragrance does not spill. Impossible. So all that I have to do is to be committed to my learning, to committed to my progress, and in effect whatever I will do to my children will not be a harmful thing upon them. That's what I feel.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for the question. So, coming back to effects of competition. So we were talking that it's a very competitive world. We all want the higher universities and degrees and all that because that's what we see everywhere. And then the mind gets illusioned, ki wahan milega, wahan milega. So although the effects of competition are also positive effects, it has a stimulating effect. We get inspired from people who are doing good, but it helps mostly the strong and brilliant. If I have an inner capacity to grow and I'm bright, then I will be happily taking competition. But for those of us who are a little weaker, right, owing to the conditioning of the childhood, it has weakened me. Now competition will make me further unworthy, feel unworthy about myself, that oh my god, I am nothing, like you are going into your deeper shell more and more. Yeah, absolutely, Shashu. Yeah. Yeah. So the weaker section, the weaker ones of us, what happens is that they are not, they kind of feel unworthy owing to the competition. They are lagging behind, and they are simply demoralized. That I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, and sometimes broken down with despair, depression. So whatever little contribution they could have made, because everyone has gifts and talents, whatever little contribution they could have made, owing to the fact that the society is competition driven, they just close themselves in their shells, and we cannot even use, they cannot even give them or offer them to the society which they could have offered. So this is a loss of the society. A genius has been lost. Why? Because the society is competition based. Yeah, and competition prospers the bright ones, but the weaker ones slowly, gradually, they are not even eliminated. Here it says that they're not even eliminated. They're actually bound to stay in that society because there is nowhere else you can go. And then you keep on feeling unworthy, and you're trying to find your place in the society. You're not having a place. Where am I worthy? What is the place that makes me feel worthy? So this is a negative effect of competition. Yeah. And then he talks about money, that money has become a corrupting agent. That everything is evaluated in terms of money. For example, earlier, if you used to go to malls and buy maybe a shirt, Zodiac shirt, okay, 5,000, yes, I'm ready to give 5,000. Why? It is Zodiac. Yeah. But if you actually, these books by Sri Aurobindo and Mother, 95 rupees, 100 rupees, treasure hidden within themselves. So what is this going on? What is this going on? And if I sell you this book in 5,000 rupees, very hard that anyone would buy it. But I would buy the shirt which is being sold for 5,000 rupees. So what are our priorities? What are we actually wanting to have in life? And are we reaching there? Yeah. So again, money has become a corrupting agent. It is not the honest and capable that get it. It is most of those who are very clever, very crafty, like, business oriented people, who get more and more and accumulate more and more money. And most of the good work, it all goes for either as a charity, or people donate or contribute. Yeah. Why? Because we are, those who do not have an inclination towards money, they would not be clever enough keep accumulation ho. So the money has landed up in the hands of evil. Mother says, that money and also power, mother talks about two things, power and money, has landed into the hands of evil. Now this equation has to change. Power and money has to go to those who are most capable, so that they can make a change in the society. Yeah, so this has to happen slowly, gradually. Otherwise, the power and money will always be the corrupting agents. Yeah. Okay, so the result of all that we discussed so far, it is very obvious. In students, there is a race for diplomas, the degrees, and by cheating, hook or crook, I just want to have that admission, sign a forged paper and just have the admission in a good university. Continued elbowing for the jobs and immoral means for money and jobs, leading to more and more corruption. And examinations and diplomas, etc., they seem to be unavoidable, as Saurabh was sharing, that this is the system we are in. Yeah. Until the spirit of competition is replaced by the spirit of cooperation. So usually what we do is that I want to go ahead, but how do I want to go ahead? At the stake of you. So I would elbow you, because there are seats are limited. I want to elbow you so that I can go ahead. Now the spirit has to change, and that is what we are going to talk about, connecting ourselves with the deeper truth. If the spirit changes, then I would not be doing this elbowing, that you stay behind and I want to go ahead. This would be replaced by spirit of cooperation, that yes, I am also shining bright, come, you also shine bright, come, you also shine bright, because there is a space for everyone. Each one of us is unique. So why would I want to elbow you down? Why would I want to hide stuff from you and elbow you or keep things away from you so that you cannot prosper? You can prosper, I can also prosper, we can all prosper. So spirit of cooperation has to come more and more. And again, as we shared, that we'll be discussing how it gets manifested. Yeah. So this is the change. This is imminent change. It's a change which is very urgent change in the society. We have been enough in the drain of competition and unworth and all that. We have been there enough. So now it is very, very urgent that this change in education system, also in our homes, the education in our homes also happens. And then Sri Aurobindo shares what he thinks about man. What is man truly? So he says, just reading his words only, India has always seen in the man, the individual, a soul. That is the quality of India. India has seen man as a soul, a portion of divinity enwrapped in a mind, body, and emotions, a conscious manifestation in nature of universal spirit and self. So this is one quality that Indian culture has. That it has always seen human being not as a human being, but a divine being encased in this material body. This is what has to be brought forward in the education system or in day-to-day human life. And all these aspects that we have, the mind, the intellect, the emotions, the body, all these are nothing but instrument of the divine within. While how we live a life is, all these instruments are just instruments in their own accord. There is no one divine within. We are not concerned about that one divine. And that is why there are multiple personalities within us. Mind wants something else, the vital craves for something else, the physical wants to remain in inertia. So there is no one controlling king that is there. This king has to come into picture. And the king is our hidden divinity, the hidden soul. Once the king comes to picture, then we see that, oh, The mind, the emotions, and the body, and the whole human life was nothing but an instrumentation of the divine to manifest. Now everything becomes a little clear. Now I am not broken apart by conflicting wills and desires. So what I have to do, I have to be a slave or a servant to that inner guidance. That is the function of the mind, to be a slave to the inner truth. That is the function of emotions, to be a slave to the inner guidance. And that is what the physical also will be doing. Now everything becomes anchored or rooted within. Now the mind cannot say whatever it wants to say. It will listen to the guidance, but slowly, again, a gradual process that it happens. First we understand, then we go in search of it, and then we align ourselves to that inner light. Yeah. So he says mankind and its needs are the same everywhere, as we were sharing earlier, universal humanity, same everywhere. And truth and knowledge are one, have no country. Education too must be a thing universal and without nationality and borders. Yeah. And he says that up to now, education has just been who knows better, who knows more, who has more knowledge, who has read books and gathered more knowledge. So he says, yes, education is also about accumulation or learning of knowledge, but he says acquiring of various kinds of information is only one and not the chief means of education. What is the central aim? The central aim of education is building of powers of human mind and spirit. That if that is happening in education, then only education is fulfilling the purpose. What is the central aim? Building the powers of human mind and the spirit. And if those are not addressed, education is a waste. Human life is a waste. And this, I feel that this sometimes, it appears very urgent. Otherwise, we'll destroy whatever we have at the moment. If the in charge, if the king does not come into picture, if we do not allow the king to come forward and take the charge, all the little mantris, they will just play havoc. The vital will pull you somewhere else. Vital is the emotional aspect. The emotional aspect will pull you somewhere else. The mind will pull you somewhere else. The physical will have its own dictates. There is no master. So the master has to come to front. This is the central aim of education. Is this happening through our education system? Is the master coming to forefront? And if not, then there is an urgent need to look at it. Yeah. So he says, when the spiritual element in the man comes forward and gains ground, even a little. So ऐसा नहीं है कि आपका किंग पूरा का पूरा बाहर आके दिख रहा है, सब कुछ साफ हो गया, clear, all clear. ना, even a little, if you get in touch with your deeper guidance, even a little inner voice that we call, and again I'm going to discuss it deeply, true joy reveals itself. This is all that we seek in human life. If I have a lovely job and at the end of my day I don't have joy, that lovely job means nothing. Nothing. And if I have a very rudimentary job and I have contentment, joy, and progress, I'm the richest man in this country. Yeah, so he says, when the spiritual man element in the man comes forward and gains ground, even a little. So we have a lot of hope here. We can grow in degrees. Even a little, if we allow the inner truth to come out, then the true joy reveals itself. Here only we can find plenitude, happiness, and a satisfaction which does not leave a bitter taste. There is in man the search for the absolute. So we will have to address this need, this thirst for betterment and for perfection. We'll have to address it. Otherwise, we'll remain discontented and dissatisfied. Yeah. And he also gives us a promise, Sri Aurobindo gives us a promise. He says, an unimaginably wonderful future lies ahead of humanity if we follow this guidance. If we allow the king to shine forth, if we allow the king to take charge of the mind, to take charge of emotions, to take charge of the physical being, all our actions in the world, then only there is a hope for this race, human race. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I think this is not necessary. Yeah, so let me just come towards the end of this document, and if we have time, I'll touch upon a beautiful metaphor which I was going to share with you later. Uh, so just reading out the last passage by Sri Aurobindo: the true and full spiritual aim in society will regard man not as a mind, a life, and a body, but as a soul incarnated for a divine fulfillment upon earth. Each one of us, each one of us, right? It will therefore regard the life, means the energy that we have, the passions, the ambitions, the desires, all that energy, that is life. It will regard the life, mind, and body neither as ends in themselves, sufficient for their own satisfaction, nor as mortal members full of disease, which have to be dropped off, like earlier sadhus and rishis. They achieved nirvana through their mind, but their mortal existence remain, in the man's mortal existence remain very ugly and dark. So the light they received in the mind, although that also has a purpose, the light they received in the mind could not be truly translated as if to illumine the earthly existence. हमारा डे टू डे एग्जिस्टेंस अगर डार्क है और माइंड स्पिरिचुअल हो चुका है, again it has to further progress. Yeah, so he says that these are not elements की emotional aspect तो हमेशा बेकार ही रहेगा, माइंड तो हमेशा लिमिटेड ही रहेगा, बॉडी तो हमेशा इनर्शिया में ही रहेगी, लेकिन स्पिरिचुअल एक्सपीरियंसेस होते रहेंगे. सो ही इज सेइंग नॉट लाइक दैट. ही इज सेइंग दैट these are the instruments of the soul, mind, emotions, and body. These are the instruments of the soul, and yet imperfect instruments of an unceased diviner purpose. So they have to, even the instruments, although they are tools of the soul to come forward and take the charge in this life, they also have to be refined. The mind has to be made more and more flexible, more and more suppler, more and more wide, not limited views all the time. The emotions have to be refined. They have to become more and more purer. They have to become deeper. They have to also become stronger. ये नहीं कि थोड़ी सी खुशी हो और उछलने लग गए. We have to learn to contain the ananda, the bliss inside of us. So this is how slowly the development, refinement of tools also is done in integral education. That yes, these are the tools for the soul to manifest, but the tools are also imperfect tools. They have to be refined. Yeah. So there is a lot of work lying there for us as human beings. We बेरोजगार नहीं है हम में से कोई भी ये कह नहीं सकता कि हम बेरोजगार हो गए. Give me some job. We have so much that needs attention in our life. Yeah. So yes, this was what I thought I'll share today. Any question until now? Anything? So what do you think? Shall I share about moving forward the practical aspects of aligning ourselves with true light, or do we do it in the next session? What do you think?
Okay, for me, you can share.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay. 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 So I'm fine. So okay. So if few of us are ready, I can share maybe 15 minutes more. And those of us who want to leave, please, you're welcome to leave also. Recording will be available. So I'll share and I'll go ahead, because I think this is very, very beautiful. The metaphor he shares, Dr. Ramesh Pislani. So integral education, now coming to integral education, it refers to the totality of the person. It includes the mind, it includes the emotions, it includes the physical, but it also includes the indwelling soul. It does not exclude the soul. which usually happens in the normal education system. It is subject oriented, means to an end. Why are you doing education? So that you can get a job. So you neglect the aspect of the soul, yeah, of the indwelling divine. So in integral education, that is the soul center around which everything revolves. Yeah. So the mind, the intellect, the thinking, the life, emotions, feelings, and the body and actions, and the psychic being. Psychic being is the word that Mother and Sri Aurobindo use for the true individuality in each one of us, which is unique for each person. Yeah. Or the psychic being can also be called as spokesperson of the soul. It is like a connecting link between the divine soul and to the mind, emotions, the body. It's a connecting link. It's the spokesperson of the soul. And gradually in integral education, all the instruments, the body, emotions, and intellect have to be fully aligned as if they would not hear any other dictate but of the dictate of psychic being. This is my highest possible guidance that I can hear in day-to-day life. Aligning myself to the inner Godhead or the psychic being, that who knows. So the psychic being is called as the dynamic aspect of the soul. There is a static aspect of the soul when we talk about witness aspect, the Sakshi Bhav. That whatever is going on, there is an observation going on, no matter whether mind is actively engaged in observation. No, not that kind of observation. There is something in me which is an observer of all that goes on in my life. That Sakshi Bhav is the static part of the soul. Psychic being is a more dynamic, more active, more participatory part of the soul. So static aspect and the dynamic aspect. Yeah. And no matter what the life situations are, as we were discussing earlier, that there is no, if we just forget that there is something called as wrong or right decision, it is always possible for me to listen to the voice of psychic being. And the psychic being's voice is not something which is, kind of different and you cannot get it. It's very, very simple and we can all sense it. We all have sensed it already, and we'll discuss it how. Yeah. Yes. So this book that I have been, using as a reference amongst the other books, here Dr. Ramesh Bijlani shares a beautiful metaphor that the life is a journey. He says that life is a journey, and in any journey we need three elements. First element, please share, in any journey, what do we need? For example, you have to go from here to there. What all would you need in that journey? So share in the chat window if possible. Anything that comes to you for a journey, whenever you go out for a road trip or something else, some other journey, what all do you need? What are the basic elements needed? Food and water is one. Resources, explain resources, what all you need. Fellow travelers is the company. Yes. Food and water again one. Place to stay. Okay. What else you'd need in the journey? Imagine that you are, yes, energy. Yes. Imagine that you are setting out from home. What is the basic essential elements that you would need in a journey? Essential element. Beautiful. Yourself. Yourself, selection of destination. Beautiful. Yourself, selection of destination, information about the travel. Beautiful. So what we need is, we need ourselves. Why do we need ourselves? Because we are the driver. We are the driver of the journey of life. Who is driving? I am the driver, right? Then I need a destination. I need to know where I need to go. So if I need to go to Rishikesh, for example, yeah, I would prepare according to that okay, this much of fuel, etc., required for the destination Rishikesh. And then what is the other aspect that you all were sharing? These are the aspects of life, the vehicle, whether it's a car or a jeep or a bike or maybe walking, food, travel, resources, fellow people that you meet on the way, the workplace, the family, your spouse, your children you get, your parents that you get, your friends that you get on the journey. So all these are vehicle. This is what is going, this is what you have. You have no choice, maybe. This is what you have so that you can go to the destination. So the driver is me. The driver is me. The vehicle is all the situations, people, and everything that is there. Life. Okay. Life is the vehicle. And the destination is, what is the destination? Let's quiz about this. What do you think is the destination? What are you seeking in life? What can we call as destination? Okay, who am I? Abhijit, if I told you that finding who am I will make you extremely miserable, would you still find who am I? So go even deeper and find out what is the intention behind finding who am I. Joyful movements. There is no one fixed destination, changing the context and time. Yeah. Anything more? So if I tell you that self-realization, self-actualization will actually make you miserable, would you still go and find out who am I? Or would you think about it, maybe have second thoughts about it? So what we are seeking, if we truly go to the essence of it, we will see that what we are seeking is joy, contentment, and happiness. If spirituality does not give me contentment, why would I be spiritual at all? If having children does not bring me closer to contentment and happiness, I would not go have children. If doing work makes me more miserable, would I still go and do work? If I would do, then there is something seriously wrong with me. Yeah. So all that I am doing is I am doing because I want to be content and happy in life. So let us say that the destination is happiness, inner joy. Okay. So these are the three parts of the journey of life: the driver, which is me; the vehicle, which is the life itself, all the situations, whether good or bad, doesn't matter. Situations, life situations, people, my families, my genetics, all that is life. So on some of them I have a control, on some of them I do not have any control, I am helpless. So but I have that. Yeah. And the destination is happiness. All I want is contentment and joy in life. So we are the drivers, we drive our vehicles, and we are responsible for the direction in which we go. I am responsible. Yeah. So what is the basic minimum necessity? The driver should be physically, mentally fit. If the driver is drunk, then he can smash even a BMW and forget about the destination. Yeah. So driver has to be physically, mentally fit. I have to stay content. I have to take care of myself. I have to be mentally agile, physically agile, and emotionally okay. That is my minimum basic necessity if I want to go ahead on this path. The vehicle, as we were talking, is the experimentation of life itself. All the life movements are the vehicle that can take me closer or not closer to my destination. So let me just share upon this. The work that we do, the people we work or live with, family and workplace, unexpected events of life, all form the vehicle that we have going towards the goal of our life. Now, disappointments will be there. We all have our disappointments, but there is no need to get disheartened because there are still many, many options. Yeah. So long we have a life, we also have a vehicle, which is the movements of life, situations, people of life. Yeah. So long we have a vehicle, we can go towards the goal of life, which is more and more inner contentment, joy, and progress. Yeah. We do not always know which vehicle is the best. Now imagine that Shweta was sharing in the beginning, imagine that I have gotten myself enrolled in a course which I don't really enjoy much. Okay, so maybe a wrong vehicle has been chosen, but the choice has been made. Yeah, so we do not have much knowledge that which vehicle is the best, that takes me towards my goal. But he says that those vehicles, those situations, those people that we get in life, they might be actually better than the ones that we wanted. So I could have wanted a hippie husband, but I got a very settled husband. And although I think that that's a big mistake, but for me to move towards inner happiness and joy, maybe it's better that I got a settled husband. I'm just giving a very basic example, that it does not matter much what the life situation is. What matters is, do I want to go towards the goal as a driver? And if I want to, I can make any vehicle as a means to my progress. So चाहे मेरे पास गाड़ी है, चाहे मेरे पास कार है, or I am walking, I will make sure that I reach the destination. So the driver is mentally fit, physically fit, emotionally fit. He knows his destination, and then he makes every life situation as a means to go towards the destination. Very, very clear. Yeah. So reaching the destination, which is happiness, inner joy, does not depend on the vehicle. Absolutely not. Alipur jail, Sri Aurobindo landed up without his own, he did not do the job he landed up in jail for. He turned it into a communion with the divine, staying in the jail after he got, settled with the fact that, okay, now he has to be here. He turned it into a communion with the divine. So, so no vehicle is kind of responsible for your destination being reached. Reaching the destination does not depend on the vehicle if the driver knows where he has to go. Now comes mother's quote: an aimless life is a miserable life. We usually don't even know what we want in life. That is the thing with us, even as adults. So if the driver truly knows where he wants to go, then even a bike will take him here. And if he does not know where he has to go, then even the bestest of vehicles, he will not be able to make use of it, because he does not know, where do I want to go? I don't know, where do I want to go? Yeah. And if the driver is drunk, he may smash the best of the vehicles. Yeah. So what is, again, talking about setbacks and disappointments in life, he says what is perceived as the worst in our lives has seeds for what turns out to be the best. Imagine I was in a relationship and there was an extreme separation from that relationship. Owing to that separation, which may appear very, very tragic, I found my ground, I found my divinity. So what is tragic and what is helpful? So he says what is perceived as the worst in our lives often has seeds for what turns out to be the best. We have to learn how to convert, he says, beautiful lines, he says, how to convert toxic waste into fertilizer, just like an earthworm. How to convert what seems to be the worst into the best. That is in our hands. So this is where mastery comes in the picture. This is where human control, wanting to control, comes in the picture. That yes, I may have landed up in the baddest of the situations. Let me see what I want to make from this raw material of darkness and challenge. This is a power which all of us have. Yeah. And then he talks about the destination. So whenever we go towards a destination, we either have a GPS guiding us, all these masters have left many, many maps for us, or we ask someone, we take someone's help. Happiness is what we ascribed as a tentative destination. All I would not want to come to these sessions if they make me miserable. Yeah. So all I want is contentment, peace, and happiness. Now, anything can become a medium. Maybe this session, maybe a book you pick up, maybe a talk to a friend, a discussion with a friend, anything can become a medium. Yeah. So happiness has to direct our choices, inner happiness, inner joy. When we fail to get what we wanted, we are unhappy. And we find an easy explanation for our happiness in our failure to get what we wanted. So I can say that I wanted this degree, MBA degree. Now that this degree I don't have, I'm very unhappy. You know, I wanted a child, but now I do not have a child, so I am very unhappy. Now, can you ask even logically, do all the people who have children are happy people? Do all the people who have MBAs are happy people? So don't give yourself excuses. Yeah, so if we do not get a particular vehicle in life, a particular life situation, a particular life partner that we wanted for a particular job, this much of finance, I cannot actually blame the life situation. I have to blame my attitude. Why couldn't I make the best of that situation? Yeah. So whether we go towards the goal, which is happiness, depends on the choices that we make. Whether I am able to make, as we talked, make even the toxic waste into something of use. Kabir says, Nindak niyare rakhiye, angan kuti chhawaye, bin sabun pani bina nirmal kare suhaye. So he says, all the criticisms that you get, keep them very close to you, because they are the ones who will make you progress and make your life more and more beautiful. So take all the criticisms with a pinch of salt. Don't go on the person's mood. Just take the criticism, make the necessary progress, and go forward. So I have used even the toxicity for my progress. Yeah. And the choices that are leading to lasting happiness are also the choices that take us towards the true goal of human life, which is progress and inner joy. Yeah, so they are connected. Whenever, the examples he has given, beautiful examples, and I will share in the next classes also. Imagine that I have to buy something in the market, and I go to buy that something in the market, and the moment I'm buying it, I see another fellow standing who is in a very dilapidated condition, and he wants food. So although I wanted to buy that, but I ask myself, okay, which happiness will be a better happiness, when I go get the thing that I wanted, or I abandon the thing that I wanted and I give rather this person something that he wants? Which is the greater happiness? So go with the greater happiness. And that is the voice of the inner truth. That is the voice of the psychic being. Because that will always be more selfless, more wide, and more generous. Yes, Yasho. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is how you can, right now, even now, all of us are in total deep connect with the inner truth. It's only that we don't give it chance enough to come forward. We don't practice this muscle. Whenever we are doing an action, okay, what will make me more happy? Trying to hide away things from this person, or to generously give the things to this person? What will make me more happy? And go with the greater happiness. Okay, but what later you feel it was a wrong choice of giving. Many a times, Nehal, when what you are saying, wrong choice of giving, that would only come into the picture when the ego comes up again. Because the ego would say, why did I give that to that person? Because I did not get the reciprocation. So the psychic being does not wait for reciprocation. Psychic being is generous, compassionate, wide, flexible, supple, and further we will see, that you will actually undergo an unease. Imagine that the example that I was sharing. So I go back home, I have purchased what I wanted to purchase. When I'm sleeping at the bedtime, that little child's face comes up to me again, and I feel not really nice about it. I feel I could have done something there, I could have done something there. Yeah. So whenever we do not hear the voice of the psychic, we are always, whenever we go in time and recollect that incident, we will be feeling unease again and again, guilt again and again. Because something in you told you that this could be done. but you did not follow. So the idea of the psychic's voice is that you will continue to feel unease in the being if you go back in the past and you see that you could have done better. But not to say that just go back into the past and go there. Now, if you know that there is a voice in me which tells me what the right way is, now make it more and more a part of your life. You know, that, okay, let me do this. Let me do this in as many instances as possible. Yeah. And slowly, 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 we see that we are mostly doing those things which make us wider, which make us generous, and which also keep on expanding our connect with ourselves, and also make us more selfless. You know, usually ego is very self-centric. You know, मेरे को क्यों नहीं मिला, और you know, मैंने उसको क्यों दे दिया, ये सारी बातें egocentric. But the psychic being is something greater and something beyond the ego. Yeah. So yeah, this is just one example that we can choose. And you know, yes, Shweta, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just had one question, Monica. So I understand that psychic being is unique and it is not the ego, and like it is our truest potential also, by and large. But is psychic being always right? I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we don't need to train the psychic being also.
So psychic being is something like, okay, let me say, mm, the example that I would use here is, imagine that there is a drop of, so imagine divine or the absolute truth being a drop of immortal nectar, what we call as Amrit. Okay? Psychic being is a drop of that immortal nectar. The qualities that absolute or the divine has, the psychic being also has those qualities. So even if, although you have such a just a drop of the nectar, but the nectar is nectar, it makes you immortal. Yeah. So when you ask, do we need to train the psychic being? No. The psychic being needs to be the master who needs to train the ego, the outer personality. Because the ego only knows through very limited fields. How does ego know? Ego knows through experiences. But the psychic has a larger view, larger knowledge, because it is coming from the divine. Yeah. So whenever we listen to the voice of the psychic and the ego aligns itself to the voice of psychic, you always see that you are actually making a progress in your life. So the psychic being does not need to be trained. We need to listen to the dictate of the psychic so that the ego is trained or the outer instrument is trained.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone? Anything that? And we will, discuss. This is a long chapter that we have started today, so we will be discussing this further. Where I'm leaving today. Uh, what about this driver, the vehicle? How to orient the psychic being or the instruments around the psychic being, because that is the purpose of integral education, to align the mind, which usually hears the dictates of the ego, to align the emotions, which usually hear the dictates of the ego, outer personality, and to align the physical actions also to the voice of the psychic, to the higher voice within us. The voice within us, which always wants to progress, which always wants to move towards beauty and towards purity. Yeah. Which does not want to keep itself constricted in little comfort zones. That's what we do usually. We keep ourselves in little zones, and we do not feel satisfied there. We can never feel satisfied being in our limited zones, because that's not who we truly are. Who we truly are is vast, and when we align ourselves with that vastness, then we experience true joy. Yeah. So anything else, anyone? Okay, so in absence of anything, I think we can settle down here also and take this home. I will be sharing the document also in the WhatsApp thing, so that we can contemplate and reflect deeper, over these things. So again, these are just touching the tip of the iceberg, but I think it's important to touch the tip so that we become aware of what lies hidden also. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can settle here also. If there is any question, any doubt, you can share. Okay. Thank you, Birenji. Yeah. Thank you.
Monica, this is perhaps slightly late in the day,
Yeah.
but what exactly does one, expect out of these sessions?
Actually, how I started these sessions, Yashu, I would be very frank. The only idea was that I was myself researching and going through personal experiences and reading something so beautiful that I thought that why not collectively share it, read it, explore it, and make it a part of our life. So when you ask what can we expect out of these sessions, I would say through the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, it would be a deeper clarity to the purpose and the direction of human life. I think that's the crux that I can share with you. First of all, a purpose, and also a clarity, because usually we are lacking in clarity, and that's why misery comes. We don't know where we want to go in human life. So once that thing is completely clear through the words of masters, then I see that, okay, there is something of beauty where I want to propel myself further. So through these sessions, we will be exploring slowly how now we have touched on the psychic being today, because this is the main center around which integral education revolves. Psychic being is the center of education, should be the center of education, and slowly it should allow the being or who we are to actually develop our latent faculties, develop the powers of mind, powers of imagination, refine our emotions. So that is where this journey is slowly going to lead us, like leaving us with the hints and pointers here and there, and after that it is up to us what we want to do with those pointers. I think it could be just absolutely different unfolding for each one of us. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Nayan. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.